We've got Derek Walgrave, Todd Ricker, and Craig Nestor, and you can join us as well at 651-289-4488, 289-4488, or CYA21.com to download the Financial Crisis Bible, which is so cool. So we talk a lot of crisis here, Craig Nestor, but there is so much opportunity.
Real estate is the vehicle that 95% of Americans will use in the future to generate wealth for their family.
But we thought that went running off the road and into the river.
It did, but the model's back is just completely different. I mean, let's take a look at it from 30,000 feet. You have historically low interest rates, the lowest we've seen in 50 years. We have the lowest cost of housing since the Great Depression. 3 of the last 4 months, our numbers in the housing market have declined. Purchase loan applications fell to a 15-year low. This is just a basic supply and demand conversation. This is an opportunity to buy. And you're right, because the model is so new. Is it going to be a sheriff's sale? Is it going to be a bank-owned property? Is it going to be something that's a short sale or something that has to be discounted on the MLS? It doesn't look the same as it used to in 2005 and 2006. It's a completely different model, but real estate is back. And as Heidi points out, the math is in the move-up buyer. The math is clear. It's taking the emotion out of it. The numbers are move up. And Minnesota being the third tightest rental market in the community, it's very easy to do right now.
In the country, yeah.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we've got great opportunities, and for a lot of the people who are going through what we might consider to be a financial crisis, there are some considerations. Number one, if possibly you have a young couple who got together and wound up in either or's place as they became a couple, meaning that they both had maybe financing. One person was able to sell their home without being upside down before the market crashed, but now they're in another home, but that home is only in one person's name. Well, remember, you're married now, and you both own each other's stuff, you know, 1 to buy, 2 to sell, and all of that kind of stuff. But remember, if the loan is in the husband's name, the wife's credit is going to be untouched by this situation. And if she's got a strong enough debt-to-income ratio to be able to buy a home herself, she may be able to go across the street and buy a better house for vastly less money and be able to qualify for it on her own. So there is a lot of options. By the way, just asset protection 101, when you're married, you never put both people's names on everything if you can help it, because there's always a possibility something could go wrong, and that way both people aren't going down in flames. If that hasn't happened to you, you've got tremendous options in today's market where you might not have realized it before.
That's a pretty good point, Todd Ricker. I think that's something that a lot of us just assume. Okay, let's just, when you're married, you just put everything together and all of that. But that's once again part of the plan, part of the strategy.
Worst mistake you can make. You never want to commingle credit or finances as a couple. It's interesting to me that people, especially folks who've maybe been married and divorced, had a short-lived marriage, and so, oh my goodness, they never want to get married again because they don't want to go through that fiasco. Okay, but then they go and buy real estate together. Look, it's easier to dissolve the marriage than it is to get rid of the real estate, So.
Well, and what we see, the strategies and the tactics that were implemented just a few years ago, we now see under a different light, really don't work anymore. It's the value of cover your assets as a show. How many times have we seen one of the spouses want to be on the mortgage and they didn't need to be?
Okay.
So because they believe they're keeping they're protecting their equity, and they're not doing that, right? I mean,
Correct.
1 to buy, 2 to sell. The other cannot sell. They'll be on title, and even if they're not on title, the law provides that person has a 50% equity position unless there's a prenuptial agreement that is a control agreement outside of that. So you're going to have a 50% ownership in any property that your spouse has got, but being on the title and being on the promissory note to repay the debt are two completely separate issues.
Heidi, we have spoken about the opportunity that is here today for buying. Why don't you speak specifically to people that can implement this strategy now?
Well, there's a lot of different programs out there. And like you had talked about before, we're at historic lows for interest rates, but we're also at a changing market of programs. There's a lot of programs out there. Yes, a lot of programs have gone away, but they've been restructured. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people don't know that you can get conventional financing with 3% down.
Whoa.
3%.
Which is huge.
Huge.
It's a big deal.
Huge. A lot of people think that, okay, I want to have the lesser amount down, so they go FHA. Well, you may not be an FHA buyer. You're going to have upfront mortgage insurance. Your monthly mortgage insurance is going to be twice as much as conventional financing. So it's just a matter of knowing the programs, asking the questions. We have the 3% down conventional. You have 3.5% down with the FHA. We have 203K loans, purchases.
What are those?
203K loans are basically if there's a property that has had damage or some type of maybe plumbing or electrical, or there's two types of programs. There's a streamline and then there's a full. With the streamline, you can go at $35,000 or less, and that's more, I wouldn't say cosmetic, but it's nothing structural or foundational.
So what you're talking about specifically is you can finance the money that's needed to rehab and fix the house.
Correct.
Right? Okay,
Absolutely. Because we talk about, the HELOCs that were out there and the home improvement loans. Well, now it's restructured into a 203K where you can get the financing up front, and it's structured as a draw. So it's just a matter of, asking the right questions on what you want to do. And there's a lot of homes out there. Yes, there's a lot of inventory, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed as well.
On the 203K, is that used as someone who's buying a second home, or can the primary resident use that home? Or let's say I'm underwater and I want to stay and fix some stuff up. How does it apply there? Or
there's also a 203K refinance, which, with that being said, it has a lot of factors into it as far as your payoff and what the end value is. So you have two appraisals. So there's just a different way to structure it a little bit, but you can do it on a purchase. You can do it for a streamline, for a full, or you can do it on a refinance.
So the main thing is that a lot of people are fearful of buying homes that maybe look like a real screaming deal, except the problem is there's things that need to be fixed
Correct.
at maybe $30,000, $40,000, and they know they can't do that out of pocket.
Correct.
This loan addresses that issue and allows you to build sweat equity within a home and be able to buy something that maybe everybody else is afraid of, even though it's a really great deal.
Absolutely.
Bridges the gap.
Absolutely. And it's an FHA loan, so you're going to have the qualifications or the guidelines set to that standard as well. So you have to, it's a home that has to be habitable and has to be in good working condition for you to live and provide for your family. They're not going to allow you to go into a home with no appliances, or there's holes in the walls, or there's not a floor. That stuff has to be taken care of. And if you don't have the upfront money because of the situation that you're trying to deal with, then this is a perfect loan for you. It's a perfect scenario.
It allows opportunity.
Absolutely.
And first-time home buyers, this is a great product because when we bring clients out, we see a lot of distressed homes, and their best option is that equity, that building that equity position,
Yes.
but they don't have the cash to do the repairs in order to get the financing.
Right.
And that's the reason they don't have the vision with these houses, because they look at them, they see what's necessary financially, they believe they can't finance it into their loan, and they shut down and they want to move right on to the next house.
They see
Right.
damage.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're missing opportunities that they should be taking, especially in this market, because there are a lot of distressed homes like that.
Right.
And sometimes the big equity plays, as we call them, are those homes. So that is a fantastic loan.
But how do you borrow $30,000 or $40,000 if there's no equity?
That's what we've been talking about.
Oops. No, but you they do give you a little bit of overage on the value. Like if it's a streamline refinance, they'll let you go above what the appraised value is,
Correct.
a certain percent.
Correct.
What is that, Heidi?
With the 203K, it's up to 110%. But you can also do, for people that are in a different situation, there's programs where you can go up to 125% on your first and an unlimited CLTV on your second, unlimited combined loan to value. So your second does have to resubordinate, but you can get 125% of value. If you're at 6.5% and you want to take advantage of these rates today, it's just a matter of asking the right questions, having somebody knowledgeable to know what the neighborhood is doing and what the possible value would come in at it. So if you can do a refinance on your first and get the 4.875 or 4.75, those programs have a little bit more of a hit to the rate just because of the risk factor. But you can go up to 125 on your first and unlimited CLTV on your second.
So let me clarify this just so we're clear and everybody understands what you've just said. Basically, you could have a home whose value is, when combined with your junior liens, that being any loan coming after first position, is rendered upside down with the current market. However, if your first position is not upside down, subordination of a junior lien simply means it maintains its position on title and it agrees to do that, which means they're really not losing or gaining anything.
Correct.
They're maintaining or subordinating that position, but you've got a first position loan that's at 6.5% that you could potentially refinance for 4.5%, 5%,
Right.
which could make a dramatic difference in your monthly mortgage payment and may make it much more appealing to stay in your home.
Correct. And what a lot of people don't want to do is they think because it's quote unquote on paper, oh, I don't want to refinance because I'm upside down. Well, you're upside down anyway. That's not gonna go anywhere. Whether you have it, okay, so let's be upside down with a 4.5% interest rate.
Exactly.
As opposed to 6.5%.
Well,
Just because it's not on paper today, you're still upside down.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways to fix that and help.
And that's the to stay or to go proposition.
Correct.
You know, I mean, you can say, well, this is an upside down position. Yes, maybe so, except here's the deal. If you walk away and rent, you're going to pay just as much
Yes.
money, all things considered, because you'll no longer have the tax benefit anymore.
Right.
So you may wind up paying more in rent. So staying in the home may be a good proposition. So let's make it the best one it can be by lowering the interest rate on the first position and having a much lower payment, still having the interest write-off, and now staying in the home doesn't seem like such a sacrifice.
Right. I mean, if that's the home that you want to, have your family in and continue to be there because you've made it your home. You've made it what you want it to be. You love where you live. Your family grew up there and you want to stay there. But because of the market, which nobody had control over, it's upside down and you want to continue to stay in that situation, but in a better financial situation for your family.
Well, the option is you can either you can pay for your own house that's upside down, or you can go rent someone else's house that's upside down.
Correct.
Yeah. You're going to be
Which
paying
one?
somebody's mortgage. It might as well be your own if it works in the whole
Right.
big picture, which is what we talk about here on Cover Your Assets. The whole big picture. We've got foreclosure defense. We've got unbiased advice. And we've also got short sale and investment property specialists along with a killer senior loan officer in the house. 651-289-4488. That's 651-289-4488. Or jump online and check us out at CYA21.com.